All right, so Friday Pilates mats. Let's come to our mats and let's begin with a little shaking and bouncing today. Little shaking and bouncing, letting go any hypertonic muscles, releasing tension. And then let's come into some fluid movement. And let your arms be lifted by waves of air. Let your leg be lifted by waves of air. And let Izzy once in, fluid breath. Keep moving. Gentle and easeful warm up. So really try not to fling your arms through space. Let them float and float and float. You're not throwing them like this. You're letting them float and float. See the difference? Yes, beautiful. Fluid breath. They're getting lifted from beneath. Let the muscles under your arms lift them up instead of pulling them up with your upper trap. Let your feet land and your arms begin to figure eight. And the figure eight can move into a gentle twist if that's okay in your spine, but don't force it. We're warming up the body here. Fluid breath. The hands can begin to rise. And remember, as the wrist lifts higher than the shoulder, you're going to release the head of the arm bone down like a teeter-totter. And then as the wrist comes back down, that head of the arm bone gently moves up. But we're not pressing on the ceiling. We're not drawing it up into the shoulder girdle. And then we float back up again. And when we get high, we bring the hands together, step the feet wide, turn the knees out, bring the hands down, and open, stretching the spine. Exhaling, cat curling the spine. Inhaling and exhaling. Really invite in the stretch. Stretch it open from the inside. Fluid movement of the arms. And as low as is comfortable in the legs so that you begin getting a little heat moving through the quads. One more. And release the arms and roll one shoulder and then the other and back and forth. As you reach across the diagonal with one shoulder, point the opposite toe. Feel for the tissue between your shoulder blade and your rib cage moving. The muscle on that front of your shoulder blade is called the subscapularis, one of your rotator cuff muscles. We warm it up. And then take the elbow wide. Stretching. And then maybe the elbow goes up, but only lift the elbow up if you feel like you can still have room between your humerus bone and your shoulder girdle. And then the arms can open. And we get the lymph circulating in the arms. And then we bring the arms down and we inhale, lift the heart. And roll the wave over. And we inhale. And we exhale. And remember that Joseph Pilates wanted a fluid, mobile spine. So try to feel for that fluidity. And if there's tightness in your spine, maybe you pause and rest where there's tightness for you, which could be totally different than where there's tightness for me. And breathe into it. Invite it to stretch open and play a little bit. Maybe you rock your hips side to side. Maybe you lift one shoulder and then the other. I want you to experiment with your own spine for a few moments and ask yourself, where can I make it a little more open so that the flow is more easeful? So I'm rolling my shoulders now in a slight bit of a cat curl. For some of you, it may be the front chest that really needs to open, the front of the thoracic spine. You may want to dangle your arms back, root your tailbone and your pubic bone, and lift the navel ring and the rib ring and the chest ring, and relax the collar open, the palms wide. And then stretch open with an inhale. Rooting the tail and the pubic bone, lift the low back rib ring. Keeping that spine strong, maybe the banks of the river activate. And then we breathe a stretch into the front chest. And release. Okay, let's try to find a wall. If you don't have a wall, just pretend like you have one. Lift your fingers up onto the wall as high as they'll go and slowly lower your heels. Now, as you lower your heels, feel for where you can create space along the spine. Really pay attention. Invite space between each vertebrae. And my heels are just getting to the floor. And then I'm going to walk my fingers a little higher. Try for a three-dimensional breath. And let your hands come down the wall. If you don't have a wall, just pretend. And pressing down the wall with your palms, lift the heart. Now don't shorten the back body, root your tailbone. Hug in your glutes to the bone and lift the low back rib ring. Maintaining that pubic bone and tailbone grounding, knees not hyperextending. Lift the heart. Roll the back open. Lengthen the back of the neck. Fluid, three-dimensional breath. Rooting to rise. Lift the backs of your armpits. Lift the back base of the skull, the back of your temples. And release standing. Come sideways, pressing your arms against your arm and robot arm against the wall. Feel how the opposite foot engages and feel your myofascial sling. Press the arm into the wall, the opposite foot into the ground. And I want you to feel up that leg, what's working. From that buttock across, how does pressing the arm into the wall mean that you engage that leg? I want you to feel it for a few moments. Press the arm into the wall. Feel the foot press down. Feel how there's this river of fascia that connects the two. Now root the foot closer to the wall. Imagine pressing in to an imaginary wall on the other side. Even the work. Notice how you can engage your body. Don't over-engage. Don't hyperextend the knees. Keep lengthening through the crown. Three-dimensional breath. Feel into the work. And release that side. Take it to the other. Press the next arm into the real wall and the opposite foot into the floor. And now stretch yourself a little taller. Lift the base of the skull. Press the arm into the wall. Press the four corners of the opposite foot into the floor. And feel your way up that leg, through that buttock, across the torso to the opposite shoulder and arm. Check in with your knees. Check in that you're lengthening the neck. And then root the foot close to the wall, four corners. Lift your toes, lift your arches, release your toes. And press into the imaginary wall at the other arm, broadening from arm to arm. Rooting into both feet, but not forgetting that there are these cross-body myofascial slings happening and that you can utilize them. We're growing conscious of them. Now turn your back to the wall. Actually, let's lift up our foam roller if you have one. If you don't, you can just do this with your back at the wall, or you could try the bolster behind your back. Your choice. Those of you with a foam roller, bring it behind you. Now today, walk out from your roller a little bit and lower it, coming into bent knees for a moment. Bring your thumbs to your lowest ribs, fingers to your hip pointers. Just roll gently back and forth. Place your tongue where your hard and soft palate meet. And just forward of the soft palate on the hard palate, imagine that little bony area has a little bony nest on top of it, and that's where your pituitary gland sits. Lengthen up from that point out through your crown. Lengthen down from that point through the center of your pelvic floor. Let your arms lift, palm together with palm, elbow together with elbow, and open your arms wide. Now, take the elbows a little forward and the head of the arm bones back, and then broad across your elbows. And straighten the legs. You may have to lift your roller or your bolster. Come back to standing. And take your arms wide. Take the head of the arm bones back, the wings wide. Breathe into the front chest. Root the tail, lift the base of the skull. Now slowly lift onto one toe. How can you stabilize as you lift the knee? Fluid breath. Try to keep lengthening the spine. Use the four corners of your feet. Notice, can you become aware of your myofascial sling from the standing foot to the opposite shoulder? And release. Lift to the other toe. Rooting your standing leg. Float the knee up. Feel your myofascial sling from the standing foot to the opposite shoulder. Use it. And release. Okay, let's come down to the floor and we'll come into some traditional Pilates mat for a few moments. So many of you liked the Wednesday slow moving mindful Pilates. We'll do a little of that before we come into some of the other work today. Nod tailbone towards the earth and tailbone towards sky. So it's interesting when we say we want to do back strengthening. Do you feel how those myofascial slings, they move through you from shoulder to buttock to foot, and it does wake up your back chain a little bit. So nod, tailbone towards earth, tailbone towards sky. Feel your back on the floor. Feel how you shorten the sides of your square. As you nod tailbone towards sky, you lengthen the sides of your square when you take tailbone towards earth. Now find neutral, your neutral lumbar curve, your neutral Pilates square, and float one leg to tabletop. Float it back down, landing light as a feather. Float the next leg up. Back down, light as a feather. Keep your square square, shoulders broad, jaw relaxed. Gaze perpendicular to the floor. Float one leg to tabletop. Float the next leg to follow. Some of you may want a folded blanket or a block under your sacrum. Bring your heels together, knees wide. Take a deep inhale. Exhale fully. Take another deep inhale, three-dimensional. Exhale fully. Next time you exhale, find a lift of the pelvic floor into the body. Don't change the shape of your lumbar curve. Rest your shoulders back. Three-dimensional inhales. Exhale through the straw, lift the pelvic floor, hug in your corset. And on your next inhale, toe dip the right leg. Exhale, heel to heel. Inhale, toe dip left. Exhale, heel to heel. Feel as you toe dip how you can ground both shoulders and use your back myofascial slings. Feel in from the moving leg to each shoulder how there's a triangle of support you can create. We want to wake that up. Now, feel how you can create another triangle of support from your low ribs to your hip pointers. As you toe dip the right leg, reach across to the left low ribs. Come back up. As you toe dip the left leg, Reach across to the right low ribs. And let this X of support help you. As you toe dip the right leg, feel to the left ribs and up to the right ribs. Feel that triangle that you can create and how the hypotenuse can support you. Shoulders stay broad and grounded. Come back up, hands to the front of your femur bones. Press the hands into the femurs. Pull the femurs towards the chest. Take a deep three-dimensional inhale. Exhale through your straw. Draw the pelvic floor into the body. Inhale, three-dimensional expansion. Your shoulders are not rising up by your neck. You're not pushing so hard you're compressing your spine. Strengthening the abdominal core, hands into femurs, femurs into hands. Keep your side bodies long, the sides of your neck long. And then draw the knees into your chest. Circle them wide apart and back together. Again, getting the synovial fluid flowing in the hips. Fluid breath. Take the knees the other way. And reach for a yoga block. Okay, so with the hips, I oftentimes think of the SI joints. Let's reset our SI joints to begin with. Bring the block wide between your knees. Let your arms open, your shoulders relax back, and press your knees into the block. Pressing the knees into the block, think of the hips, the femur bones, expanding in the pelvis, drawing the ilium bones away from the sacrum, so the sacrum can settle down between the ilium bones. Press the knees into the block. Now, we don't overdo it. We're not doing 110% of effort, maybe about 70% of effort. But we're still, as we teeter-totter the knees into the block, we're allowing the hips to spread broad. Visualize that. And draw your breath deep into the pelvis. And let the pelvis relax open so that the sacrum can seat itself comfortably between the ilium bones. Now take the block out and releasing your feet to the floor. Pause. Nod tailbone towards earth, tailbone towards sky. Let the pelvis settle. Fluid breath. Now, draw one knee and then the other to your chest. Take your knees in a circle around the perimeter of your sacrum. And massage your SI joints. Good morning, SI joints. Take your circles the other way. Good morning, SI joints. And then draw the right knee in, lengthen the left leg out. Press the button with your left toe, point both feet. Settle your shoulders back. Take a three-dimensional inhale. Exhale, lift the pelvic floor into the body, draw in the banks of your river, and switch. Now holding here, hug in the other side while you lengthen, but keep the hips centered. You're not drawing the left hip up towards the armpit. You're keeping a hug towards midline, around the sacrum, and switch, and switch, and switch. Nod your nose towards your mouth. Perhaps you almost lift from the hairline. And even if you want to lift your head, first start with just almost lifting from the hairline. Lift just 10% of the head's weight, and then 20, and then 30, and slowly lift to the point that's right for you. Some of you will lift off. Keep lengthening through the crown. Lengthen out through the pointed toe, and then floint the foot. Press out through the pinky toe ball mount. Get that outer edge of the leg moving. Press out through the outer heel. And then flex the foot. Press out to the inner heel. And then floint the foot again. Press out to the big toe ball mount. And then pointing the toes, press the button with the pinky toe. And hug both knees in. Rest the head back. Reach the hands and feet for the sky. Zip up the inner thighs. Feel your inner thighs magnetize. Your heels magnetize. Now hug in the outer hips, the banks of your river, and reach wrists away from ankles. Maintain your lumbar curve. Circle the arms and hug the knees in. It's a fluid motion. Inhaling out to your point of control, circling and hugging. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Fluid breath. Fluid motion. And it's done with precise control, remembering where your midline is. That's why we hug the heels together. Now coming back in, bring the right foot overhead, left foot long. Nod your nose towards your mouth, lengthen through the crown, and almost lift the head or lift the head. Just an inch. Pulse, 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 pulse. Now what I'd really like to see is the lengthening leg down the mat as straight as you can get it. Some of you are bouncing like 5 inches. I want to see a 1 inch. Too much bounce, too much bounce. And it's not about getting the leg low, okay? It's just a precise, very small movement. Yeah, that's better. And try to think of lengthening out the bottom leg. You're not bouncing at the knee. You're lengthening the whole leg. Good, good, beautiful. Now hug the legs back in towards your chest. Take a few deep breaths into the 3 dimensions of your torso. And then come back to tabletop. Shoulders broad, really rest them back, palms up. And toe dip 1 foot and come back up. We're not touching the floor. We're inhaling down and exhaling up. Can you keep your shoulders grounding? Use your back myofascial slings. Now see if it makes a difference to open your arms into a T. Raise your fingers towards the sky, palms facing the foot of the mat. Press the humerus bones back. The whole length of the humerus, from the shoulder to the elbow. Don't press the elbows harder. Rest the head of the humerus back. Feel how your mid-back can turn on. Perhaps the area, the outer edge of your armpit, the outer edge of your shoulder blade. Now you can stay with single legs or go to double leg toe dips. Keep your neutral lumbar curve. Keep your square strong from ribs to hip pointers. Those of you who tend to flare the ribs, this is a place that happens. Now bring your arms into robot arms. Continue to press the head of the arm bone back, the whole length of the humerus back. And you can stay with single leg or double leg toe dips or lift the legs towards the sky. Zip up the inner thighs, flex the feet. Lower the heels, point the toes and lift. Flex and lower, point and lift. Can you stay broad across the shoulders and strong in your Pilates square from ribs to hip pointers? Use the outer hips to help you lift the legs back up. Use the back of the inner thighs to lift the legs. Use the hug from rib to hip pointer to lift the legs. And from the left rib across to the right hip pointer. And from the right rib across to the left hip pointer. 1 more. And then bend the knees. Hands float behind the head the funny way. And exhale, lift the right elbow, lengthen the right knee. So really try to find that length in the leg. Stretch the leg long and then switch. Stretch the leg long. Let's point the toes. Press and press and press. Lift the elbows skyward. Press and press and press. Now float the feet. Press and press and press. Flex the feet and press and press and press. Wake up the whole leg. Really feel out through the heel. Stretch the back of the leg. Feel your obliques as your left ribs reach for your right hip pointer. Right ribs reach for your left hip pointer. Feel how you can wake up your Pilates square and that X across your Pilates square. These slings will help you balance on the foam roller. Come back to center. Release your head. Hug your knees into your chest and circle the knees wide apart and back together again. Take your circles the other way. Some of you will be able to hold behind your knees and lift your feet up in happy baby. Some will be able to reach the outer edges of your feet and rock across your pelvis, opening the hips. Fluid, deep breath. Some of you will be able to hold the two big toes with your two-piece fingers on each side and open into a straddle. Supta Upta Vista Konasana. Stay with the stretch that's best for you. Stay with your three-dimensional breath. Opening the hips. Okay, bring the legs back together, roll yourselves to your side, and bring your foam roller in underneath you, blocks to each side. So we've done a little core, we've done a little back, we've done some hip opening. Now we're going to do some foam roller balance work. Bring your hand weights in to rest on top of your blocks. And lay yourself back along your foam roller. Resting back. Let your arms be long down towards your blocks and your hand weights so that the blocks are down towards your hips, even side to side. And then lift your arms skyward and rock across your roller, rolling to each side of the spine, rolling back and forth. Gaze perpendicular to the floor. Some of you will put a pillow on your foam roller. Some of you will lay right back on it, gaze perpendicular to the floor. Now, the side you're rolling off the roller, we'll lift that arm and then lift the other arm. Roll and kind of rock the arms side to side so you get into those muscles in the thoracic spine, either side of the vertebrae, out towards your shoulder blade. Let those muscles open. And then come back to center. And bring your thumbs to your low ribs, fingers to your hip pointers. Let your shoulders rest back as if they're going to press into the floor. And float to one toe. Try to keep your square stable as you float that leg to tabletop. And float it back down to the floor. Lift to the other toe. Float up and down. Lift one side. Light as a feather land. Lift the other side. Light as a feather land. Shoulders stay broad. And then land your second side. Place your hands on your hand weights and lift them up. Take the left hand weight to the left. Lift to the right toe. Lift the right shin and see, can you take the right shin slightly open? Come up with the left hand and the right shin. And open left arm and right shin. Come back up and out. And up and out. And up. Release the right foot to the floor. Take the right arm open. Lift to the left toe. Lift the left shin to tabletop. Open the left shin. Come in with shin and arm. And open. And close. And open. And close. One more. And close. Lower the left foot. Take your arms overhead in a Y or a V. Don't feel like you have to go too far overhead, but make it wide enough that you can release the head of the arm bone away from your shoulder girdle. Lift to your right toe. Lift the right shin. Now, lengthen the right leg out at your 45-degree angle and push the button on the wall with the toe. Bend the knee back in towards your chest. Press out, push the button. Come back in, press out, push the button. Come back in and lower the right foot. Bring the arms up. Take them into beetle wings, circular arms, and open your beetle wings and close, and open and close. One more and close. Now take the arms overhead in your V again. So we're getting a little of the hand weight arm work here. Lift your left toe. Lift your left shin. Lengthen the left leg out. Press the button with your toe. Draw the knee back in. Press the button with your toe. Draw the knee back in. Press the button with your toe. Draw the knee back in. Lower the left foot. Lift the arms. Beetle wings. Open your beetle wings and close. They're circular. Open and close. Take it slow so that you get the eccentric contraction and the concentric contraction. Inhale and exhale. Now, next time you bring your hands together, lift to your right toe, lower to the foot. Lift your left toe, lower to the foot. Lift, if you'd like, to tabletop, lower. Lift and lower. Exhale and inhale, or inhale and exhale, you choose. Fluid breath. Now, both feet on the floor, take your arms open in your V again. Draw your left elbow towards your right knee across the body. Open them up at their 45-degree angle. Draw elbow towards knee and open up. Elbow towards knee and open up. Here we're using your crossbody myofascial slings again. From left ribs to right hip pointer. Stabilizing across the back body from left buttock to right shoulder. Come back in. Lift your arms up, open into your beetle wings. Open the wings and close. Open the wings and close. Open and close. Now take your arms in your V overhead. Draw your right elbow towards your left knee. Open at your 45-degree and close and open. Feel for your myofascial slings. Feel for what stabilizes you and what stretches. Fluid breath. And come back in with both arms and lower the foot. Beetle wings and open and close. And inhale and exhale. Fluid breath. Now as your beetle wings work, feel into the length of your spine, your neutral curves, and your three-dimensional breath. Now bring the arms straight up, palm facing palm, and open the arms into a V out from the sides. Like you're gonna just open to a T, but don't go as far towards the floor, okay? Now maintain that. Feel how it's developing integration in your front chest, and lift to one toe and float that foot to a tabletop and lift to the other toe and see, can you float that toe off the ground? And put it back down and put the foot back down, lift both arms back up. Take the arms overhead in your V. Lift to the other toe. Lift the foot, lift the shin to tabletop. You can stay here or lift the second to the second toe. You can stay here or try to float the toe off the floor. Play with where you want your hand weights to help you create integration. And step back down. Lift the arms up. Release the hand weights back down off your blocks and just place your fingertips on the blocks. And float one leg to tabletop and the other to join. And pause here with your fluid breath. And see if you can release the weight on your hands to just one finger. See if you can take one hand off the block. Fluid, three-dimensional breath. Consciousness of the whole body. Don't let yourself get nervous and feel where you're falling. Feel the whole body, even if you need to put more fingers down. And then switch hands. Lift the other hand off Just rest on a few fingers or one finger on the hand on the block. Put both hands on the block, open your knees. See if you can float the hands, both hands off the block. Play. Keep your Pilates square strong, your spine long. Awaken to your myofascial slings. How they can help you. And release one foot to the floor and the other. Gently rock. And as you're ready, move your blocks and hand weights out of the way and roll to one side of your roller and roll off your roller. Come onto your back again for a few three-dimensional breaths. Fluid breaths. And then let's roll over onto our sides. Okay, so you can keep one hand weight, but get the blocks kind of out of your way, the other props out of your way. And bring your pillow in if you want one, or place your head on your hand. And bring your legs into femur bones parallel with spine. And bring your top hand either in fingertips right in front of your core or onto your hip and float the shin open and close. So you're in pages of a book position, right? Your knees are at a 90-degree angle and your hip to spine is at a 90-degree angle. And we'll just do 5 of these. And then we're going to float the leg, and keeping the knee at a 90-degree, we're going to press the foot behind us and come forward and press back. Now think of your head and neck. Make sure they're in healthy alignment with your spine. You want a healthy posture even here. And last one. And coming forward, close the knees and lift and press the foot back. And come forward and close and lift and press. Forward and close and lift and press. So make sure you don't take your range of motion so far that you're pulling your SI joints askew. Does that make sense? So some of us, if we have a tighter psoas pathway, if we stretch that foot behind us and the inner thigh moves back, it may feel like it's too much and it torques the pelvis. So find the range of motion that works for you. And coming in, lift up your hand weight and take your hand weight, your elbow in towards your hip, and then stretch out at a kind of 45-degree angle from your shoulder. Does that make sense? So you're kind of going forward of the body and then come back into your hip and go forward at that angle and come back into the hip and forward and hip. Now go forward, and as you draw the elbow in, draw the knee in towards the elbow. And stretch both limbs out and come back in and stretch it out. Now, can you stabilize down through the grounding side of your body, through that hip especially? And even though your arm and leg are moving, you're staying stable across your shoulder girdle and stable across your pelvis. Now see if you can take both limbs out and pause and circle the leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Circle the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And draw the knee and elbow in and lower the hand weight and lift up for your side plank. So coming onto your side with your clamshell position still intact, inhale your arm up overhead. Now just pause here and feel this, lifting your side body, stretching the upper side. Now, if you'd like to, lift your hand weight and take the hand weight overhead. Now you have to integrate at the shoulder, but the hand weight can pull you even more into a little bit of a stretch. Now draw the hand up and lift the hips and lower the hips and lift the hips and lower the hips and lift the hips. Stretch from the grounding arm to the hand above. Now lift the hips and hold. Hug in the banks of your river. Lower the arm and lift the arm and lower the arm. Stay long in your spine. Lift the arm and lower the arm and lift the arm and pause and lengthen from elbow to hand and lower the hips and lift the hips and lower the hips and lift the hips and lower the hips and lift the hips and release. And let's take it to the other side. Kind of fun to change it up, isn't it? So I'm kind of having fun adding your hand weights in posy in different positions than standing. Okay, let's come in to our 90-degree angle with your legs. So you have a 90-degree at the knee, a 90-degree at the hip. Hand on fingertips in front of your core, pressing down to keep your shoulders alive, or hand on your hip. And we open and close. And inhale and exhale, or exhale and inhale, you choose. And we're not rolling our body back. We're remembering that we're imagining there's a wall behind us so that we actually work from the abductors and the adductors of the leg. We're not rolling the spine. And now lift up, flex the foot and press it back behind you. Draw the knee forward. Press the foot back. Keep the knee at a 90-degree angle and move from your hip. Notice if your psoas is tight from inner thigh to spine, don't torque your pelvis. Fluid breath. And now come forward and close the pages of your book and open the book and press back and forward and close and lift and press and forward and close and lift and press forward and close and lift and press. Let's do one more. And then let's come back in. Lift your hand weight and bringing your elbow in towards your hip, take your arm out at that, angle it forward, and then draw it back and take it forward. Now, can you really feel into your shoulder girdle and ask yourself, how do I use the myofascial slings across my back body to help me stabilize this arm that's reaching away from my back? Can I use my strong pelvis, root the grounding side, draw back on the upper side slightly as the arm reaches forward? Use your myofascial slings. Now, as you draw the elbow back, draw the knee in and open both legs and arm. A root into your lower side. Keep from slumping that side waist into the floor. Use your hip, use your shoulder to ground you. Fluid breath. Now, with the leg reaching out, circle the leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Circle the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Draw knee and elbow in. Lower the leg. And then didn't we do something with lowering and lifting the arm like this? Trying to remember what I did. I'm just have the arm forward and we're lifting it up and back. Maybe we did that in the plank. Okay, I'm losing it. All right, let's come up into our side plank. Okay, side plank. Start without the hand weight and lift in rainbow over. And some of you may want to stay without the hand weight. And then you just come back and do all this work we're about to do with the hand weight. If you'd like to try the hand weight, ground your hips, lengthen the spine. Remember, you want to keep it spacious as you bring the hand weight over. And pause in the stretch. And then bring the arm back. And rainbow the arm. And bring it back. Now remember, as you do this arm work, your wrist wants to be slightly ahead of your shoulder towards your front side, because nobody's ribs are just flat, right? Some are flatter than others. So we want to follow the scapular plane of our shoulder blade in this work. Some of you will lift the hip, and we can lift the arm straight up, and we're just going to lower the hip and lift and lower and lift. Hold in the bank, hug in the banks of your river at the glutes as you lower and lift and lower and lift. Now pause in the lift and lower the arm forward and lift the arm. That's where we did it. Lower the arm forward and lift. Feel the strength across your back shoulders to help you lift Feel how you can use your myofascial cross from buttock to opposite shoulder to help you stabilize in this position. And lift it again. And lower the hips. And lift. And lower. And lift. And lower. And lift. And lower. And lift. And release. And let's come up onto hands and knees. And inhale a cow. And exhale your hissing calf. And inhale your cow. And pause in your cow for a moment. Think of taking your shoulders away from your pelvis, tailbone away from base of skull, and really lengthen your side bodies. Hug the hands and knees isometrically towards each other as you take the shoulders and buttocks away from each other. Lengthen the neck out of the collar. Three-dimensional breath, stretching you open from the inside. Now take the tailbone around and under, hollowing the pelvis skyward. Press hands away from knees, hissing cat. Again, invite the three-dimensional breath to open the ribs away from the spine, to puff the low back up towards the sky. A fluid breath. Now come into your neutral spine, and if you'd like to use your hand weight, hold it under your left hand. But first, we're going to start with the legs. So we're going to take the left foot, or right foot up towards the sky. Okay. So you're at that 90-degree angle, and you're going to press 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. So now see if as you have that leg lifted, you can lift the arm with the hand weight and press the foot. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Pause here and feel for your myofascial slings. And release. Take the hand weight into your right hand. Lift the left foot up, knee at a 90-degree angle, and press the foot towards the ceiling. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now hold that and lengthen. You can stay with that or lift the right arm, hand weight or no hand weight, and press the foot. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and hold. Feel from right shoulder to left buttock, from left shoulder to right buttock, from right low ribs to left low ribs, from right low ribs to left hip pointer, left low ribs to right hip pointer, and release. And inhale your cow. And exhale your cat. You can stay with those or bring your big toes together and rest back in a child's pose. Deep breaths into your pelvis, stretching the hips you are working back behind you. Today, let your hips roll off to the left. And then let your hips roll off to the right. And just roll a little back and forth, hip to hip. It's a smaller range of motion, but feel for inviting the tissue in the hip around the femur to open. If you'd like to, come back to center and walk your hands around to the right, breathing into the whole left side body. Remember, part of what we want to do is create space in the myofascial matrix so the bones can float. Now, as you stretch the side body, lower the left shoulder towards the floor, and then let it lift. Lower the left armpit towards the floor. Feel if there's a stretch that happens when you do that, and then let it float back up one more time. And walk back through center to the other side. Stretching from right sit bone to right fingertips. Lift the right buttock up, stretch it to the right. And then lower the right armpit towards the floor, and then let it float up. And let it lower and float. And just notice, am I getting into different tissue as I do this very slight twist? Am I inviting some opening? And come back to center. Root your hands, engaging each of your 5 finger pads. Feel the middle knuckles lift of your fingers. Feel for the center palm lifting, for the carpal tunnel arch lifting, and then roll up into downward dog. In your downward dog, bend your knees. If you don't want to do downward dog, you can do dolphin. Okay, so feel free if your wrists don't want to work to do your dolphin. Now in downward dog, you can stay here or really ground through the arms and float one leg up behind you. Or reach from hands to heel. Now ask yourself, can you balance across your shoulder girdle? Balance across your pelvis. And lower the lifted leg. And float the next leg up. Balance strength from each shoulder into the hands. Now you've kind of reversed the myofascial sling work because your hands, both hands are on the ground instead of both feet. Press into both arms evenly. Imagine that you have walls on the outside of each arm. Press into the walls on the outside of each arm. And lower the lifted leg or roll forward into a plank. Pause in your plank. Good strength down into your arms. Remember, your finger pads are still gripping to help you lift the center palm and the carpal tunnel arch. Rock across your toes. Now keeping your pelvis and shoulders very steady. Think of the construction X's across your abdomen and your back and float one heel. Stay strong and steady around the rectangle of your torso. Release the heel, lift the other side. Lengthen from crown to tail. Lower the side and roll back downward dog. And slowly walk your feet towards your hands towards your feet. Bend your knees and lift into Utkatasana. Let's reach, well, stay here for a moment and let your arms swing. And swing your arms skyward. Interlace your fingers, thumbs to the base of your skull, and lift. Root your tail and your pubic bone. Hug in the banks of your river. Lengthen the whole torso and release the arms. Unfurl them. Heart lifted. Grow your side bodies long. Lift the low back rib ring. Root the tail. Lift the mid-chest back rib ring. Root the tail. Lift the base of the skull. Release the collar. And float up and stand tall as you release your arms. And just for a moment, let's pick up our hand weights. And let's come into our Pilates V. And let's float our arms into a T. And holding the arm weights out, resting the arms as if resting on water. Open your left toe out. And staying tall, lifting the pituitary gland towards the sky. Lift your toe and tap. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Bend the knee. Draw the foot towards the leg and open and bend and open and bend and open. Step down. And take the right toe out. Still lift through the pelvic floor. Lift the pituitary gland. Reach up through the crown and tap. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Bend the knee and tap the foot in and release and tap and release. Tap and release. Tap and release and step down. Release the arms and roll the arms. And inhale, float your snow angel. And exhale, release. Take the left toes out, float the snow angel. And release. Mine came down early. Take the right toes out, float your snow angel. And release. Let's try again. Float and release. Float and release. One more time. Inhale and exhale. And inhale and exhale. And float your arms forward, palms down. And out and release to the sides. And float forward and out. As you draw them down, grow taller. And float and open. Grow taller. Float and open. Grow taller. Float out to the sides, palms in. Press down, grow taller. Float and in and taller. Float and in and taller. Hug in the banks of your river. Lengthen the center channel. Oh, one more. And release the hand weights. And let's inhale in. Feel your body as you inhale. What do you notice? Let your consciousness expand through the physical tissues of your body. And let's inhale into a fantastic Friday and a fabulous weekend for all of you. Okay. I've been